right, welcome back. Well, Moody's back in the headlines again with news that Americans are spending an extra $700 per month more than we were 2 years ago. Shock, right? Sometimes I feel like it's a lot more than that. Now, Moody's economist who made the claim, it's Mark Sandy, and he's an avowed Democrat. If you ask me, that figure seems really kind of low. We've got a fiat system of money. We can print whenever we want or whenever we need to print the money. It's only backed by the full faith and credit of the United States. However, it can now be argued that certain parts of the world don't have as much faith and credit in the United States as they used to. That explains why we're seeing the rise of certain alliances around the world. You've heard of BRICS, right? That's BRICS. Those nations are a perfect example of this. That's Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, just to name a few. There's more that go in that group, but those are the big ones. How do we regain international trust? What role does the Fed play in getting us back on solid footing? And what should they do versus what will they do? What's our economic playbook look like? A lot of questions there, but not a lot of answers. My next guest has a lot of those answers. Please welcome to the show, Rebecca Walser from Walser Wealth Management. All right, Rebecca, thank you very much for coming on. He put a number on it. I mean, okay, first of all, it's a lot of money, but I still feel like it's low, number one. And number two, just like we got done talking with Dan Geltrude in the last segment, something's got to give, baby, right? I mean, we can't keep going on like this.
Scott, we had the visceral reaction to just print when we decided to, for the first time in the history of recorded time, shut down businesses and everybody and isolate them and quarantine them, which was never how we've ever dealt with an infectious disease before, even in the 1912 smallpox. But the point I'm trying to make is we shut down, and then we knew we were going to economically cripple the world. So we printed, the whole earth printed about 30 trillion, the equivalent of 30 trillion US dollars during coronavirus. And that got us through, right? But now the fallout, it's like, you don't get to eat the cake and the ice cream and not eventually deal with the calories. We are dealing with the fallout. And it is a disaster for a lot of people, especially hitting, obviously, the middle class and the lower income class that have to, continue to buy their kids' school supplies, go back to school, pay for gas, get to the grocery store, go to work, and live their life. And this is the thing that they're trying to figure out. What is happening with this country? And it's so interesting. I saw a headline last week that said Congress isn't even going to take into consideration the Fitch downgrade on the additional costs of borrowing and continuing to spend. Like, what? What are you talking about? So the rating agencies and our rating doesn't have any impact if we're not going to even consider pulling back our spending. This is the problem, Scott. We have gotten so far away from true concepts of fundamental wealth and value of real hard assets. And this is what happens when you disconnect your currency from any kind of hard asset. You will get hyper in currency globally forever, and it will end. There will be a day that there is a reckoning, and everybody says, the arrogant elite say, the dollar, it's not going to go anywhere. Wake up. 74 countries are attending Johannesburg, South Africa, BRICS nations in less than 10 days, with almost half of those formal applications for actual membership. This is happening.
Yes. And so I'll throw this one to you. But they say that, again, that we won't have a default. The U.S. won't fail. But I'll tell you right now, if you continue to print money like you're printing, those folks that own those bonds are going to get paid back in dollars that are so cheap they mean nothing. That's a technical default, okay?
That's exactly right.
And so either we truly default by not paying, or we print until the money we're giving you back for the bond you hold is worth nothing, which is a technical default. Those are the two options. And I tell you, the large part of, I think, our Congress think that the number two option is okay.
That's shocking to me. I've never heard anyone say that before. I just thought they were ignoring it, but not that they were okay with it. I had a Gen Zer say to me, what's the big deal? I say money doesn't grow on trees, right? As an axiom. And they say, actually, money's paper, so it actually technically does. I literally had a Gen Z argue with me and tell me, technically it does because it's paper. And I thought to myself, this is the exact reason that we are about to potentially look like a Venezuela or a Zimbabwe or any other hyperinflation situation. You can't be downgraded. You can't print $20 trillion in the US alone through a pandemic and then act like nothing has changed. You are quietly and stealthily hyperinflating your currency.
Right.
And you're right. We will have those implications and those effects.
And so they, nobody, I don't want to be misquoted. Nobody in Congress has said they're okay with that. They just don't understand. Their behavior is telling me that they're okay with it, right? Because they continually want to spend money with no chance of really paying it back. Our service on that debt, again, I've said it before, $600 billion. When it gets to $1 trillion, that's money that's dead money. It's not doing anything for the GDP. But we're they would spend more money if they could with no repercussions, except for the fact that those bondholders are going to be paid back with zero because it's not going to be worth anything.
Yeah, I mean, this is a sure way to basically become a third world country, to constantly, and the arrogance of America. I love America. I am the biggest patriot. I love the Constitution. That's why I became a lawyer. I just love helping people achieve their American dream in their retirement. But you know what? This is not the America that we grew up with. This is the social contract is broken, and it is time for the American citizenry to rise up and say, Washington, stop.
Right.
We have got to get back to common sense because we will not become Zimbabwe.
That's perfect to land it up right on that one. I totally agree with you. Thank you very much, Rebecca. Love having you on. I love your vim and vigor. Thank you very much, Rebecca Walser, Walser Wealth Management. Okay. Bye.